It's getting funny again, I can promise. Ministers hailed closer ties with Texas, but there was still no sign of much-trumpeted post-Brexit free trade deals between Britain and the USA or India. So the UK is set to sign an agreement on closer trade cooperation with Texas as the government continues to pursue state-level deals in the absence of a wider free trade agreement with America. But we talk about that later. Trade Secretary Kami Badenoch and Texas Governor Greg Abbott were expected to formally sign the agreement in Westminster on Wednesday. The agreement is not a trade deal because individual US states do not have the power to sign these, but takes the form of a memorandum of understanding again, designed to improve cooperation between businesses in Britain and Texas and tackle regulatory barriers to trade. And Ms. Badenoch said, "I'm delighted to welcome Governor Abbott to the UK for this landmark signing." The move follows similar steps with other US states, but falls far short of the free trade deal with the US, which leading Brexiteers promised the nation ahead of the 2016 referendum. Rishi Sunak also held talks with his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi on Tuesday, including on a free trade deal. The British PM told India's leader that he wanted an ambitious outcome to trade talks between the countries, as they agreed on the need for a comprehensive deal. They agreed on the importance of securing a historic and comprehensive deal that benefits both countries, is what the Prime Minister's official spokesman said. The Prime Minister, he means Sunak of course, reiterated the importance of reaching an ambitious outcome on goods and services, and they agreed to remain in close contact and look forward to further progress on trade talks. But the India trade deal, which also has been long anticipated, does not appear to be making decisive and swift progress. Liberal Democrat Treasury spokesperson Sarah Olney, the MP for Richmond Park, said, "This Conservative government's cowboy trade policy is shooting the British public in the foot and making life even more difficult for small businesses." Just days ago, the Office for Budget Responsibility outlined the economic harm being done to the UK by Brexit. Achieving a free trade agreement with America had been part of the Conservatives' 2019 manifesto, but progress towards a deal has stalled, with Ms. Badenoch blaming a lack of interest on the part of Joe Biden's administration. Why could that be? Instead, the UK has pursued a series of state-level deals, including Indiana in May 22 and most recently Florida in November last year. I made a video on that and really explained the difference to a trade deal. Although these agreements do not lower tariffs as a free trade deal would, they can provide some help for businesses through recognizing UK qualifications or addressing state-level regulatory issues. And the Texas Governor Abbott said, "As our 9th largest trade partner, the United Kingdom plays a critical role in the Texas economic juggernaut. Strengthening the bond between Texas and the United Kingdom is crucial for our shared economies to prosper." By signing this statement of mutual cooperation today, we will further promote economic growth on both sides of the Atlantic. Texas is the economic engine of America, where entrepreneurs from around the globe can cast a vision and know they can achieve it. Working with our British partners, we will chart a greater path towards success and opportunity and create an even more robust economic partnership. Yeah, but it's still a memorandum of understanding. But at the same time, a prominent member of the British Conservatives has also defected to the right-wing Reform UK party. Former Tory Deputy General Secretary Lee Anderson announced on Monday. In some polls, the former Brexit party is now only a few points behind Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's ruling Tories. Anderson was recently suspended from the Tory parliamentary group for anti-Muslim comments against London Mayor Sadiq Khan. He is now the first member of Reform UK in the House of Commons in London, and he retains the mandate for his Ashfield constituency in central England. Anderson said he expects more defections between now and the general election, which is scheduled to take place this year. He has a television show on the right-wing TV station GB News, for which he receives an annual fee of the equivalent of €117,000, so about £100,000. The right-wing populist broadcaster GB News, with a right-wing agenda, employs several right-wing conservative MPs as moderators. The fact that active politicians have their own television shows contradicts all precedents, said media scientist Tor Clark from the University of Leicester to the German press agency. The media regulator Ofcom often turns a blind eye, and some commentators fear that this could create an unfair advantage for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party in the 2024 election year. The exact date for the vote has not yet been set, though. In all polls, the Tories are far behind the Social Democratic Labour Party. And I mean as a description, not as a name. What began in the USA with Fox News also found its way into Great Britain with the founding of GB News in 2021 as a countermodel to the strictly neutral public BBC. They have to be. Don't say they are completely. The business model requires that the broadcaster makes no attempt to be impartial, says political scientist Mark Garnett from Lancaster University. And this makes controversial personalities such as former economics minister Jacob Rees-Mogg and Brexit campaigner Nigel Farage perfect employees from the broadcaster's perspective. And journalism expert Clark agrees. GB News was founded to challenge the existing consensus in journalism about fairness, balance and impartiality by constantly promoting right-wing views and using right-wing presenters. At GB News, there are two prominent MPs in particular who stand out. I named already. Rees-Mogg, a confidant of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, regularly comments on the situation in the country on his program State of the Nation. For this, he received around £325,000 in fees last year, in addition to his parliamentary salary, according to an analysis by the Guardian newspaper. And MP Lee Anderson, once Deputy General Secretary of the Tories, expelled from the parliamentary group for his anti-Muslim comments, and now with the right-wing populist Reform UK party, receives £100,000. Lee Anderson's Real World is the name of his show. He likes to drink a pint of beer with a guest, and his interview with the then Home Secretary Suella Braverman in autumn 23 received a lot of attention, and Ofcom received almost 1,700 complaints. But the watchdog found that the broadcast on irregular migration reflected an appropriately broad range of important views, which were given due weight, as they put it. And both Anderson and Braverman had repeatedly spoken out strongly against the entry of people without the necessary documents. The Conservative MP couple Esther McVeigh and Philip Davies are also on the payroll with a morning show. Together, the politicians received almost £200,000 in 23. And this is where Ofcom intervened. A conversation with Chancellor of the Exchequer Jeremy Hunt in spring 23 violated the neutrality rules. And most recently, Ofcom launched an investigation into a show in which Prime Minister Sunak was questioned by voters on GB News. A Tory politician then analysed the content. But can the shows really help the Tories to close the gap with Labour? Well, expert Clark has doubts here, and the share of the linear TV market is just 0.45%. No one is being converted. GB News is simply confirming the existing prejudice of its audience, with one exception, Anderson. If he now stands for Reform UK and defends his mandate based on his own show, that raises interesting questions for politicians and the media. But GB News' best-known face is still Nigel Farage. Once the frontman of the Reform predecessor, the Brexit Party, he is sent to political events as a reporter. And according to observers, Farage primarily uses the stage to promote himself. And his favorite topic is the state of the Conservative Party, which he had already pushed forward with increasingly right-wing positions at the time of the Brexit referendum. Political scientist Garnett speaks of an echo chamber. Anyone who rejects Farage thinks GB News is a bad joke anyway, and anyone who loves him also loves his mission. His TV show would give him an ideal opportunity to damage the Tories if, as expected, he begins to play a more prominent role in Reform UK in the run-up to the election. And the expert Garnet points to a well-known pioneer who cleverly used his work in the media industry for political purposes, and that is Boris Johnson. So I think we have something interesting to come. I know GB News is usually only watched by people that have the same political agenda. But you see, I'm even dropping my pen on that one because I wanted to say we still have to keep an eye on it. It's not fun to keep an eye on it. That's why my pen wanted to escape probably. But we still have to do that. But at least with that, at the end of the video, everyone woke up again. And if you want to see more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.